Hey, how you doing? Keith Stevenson here, and I want to welcome you to the Syllable Space podcast, where we celebrate the inspiring work of language tutors from around the world. Uh, Join us as we highlight exceptional educators on our global platform and dive into their unique teaching journeys and explore how they're helping students master foreign languages. Today, we have Reda Bouzzit. He's calling in from China, all the way from China, but he's born and raised in Morocco. But he's going to share his journey with you today. So, without further ado, I want to introduce Reda to our Syllable Space audience. How you doing today, Reda?
I'm good, thank you.
So, before we kind of get started into the your like tutoring journey,
Mm.
I want you to share your language journey with the audience. Like, I know that you're fluent in English, French, and Arabic, but how did you come to be fluent in all of those languages?
So it started off when I was born in Morocco. As you said, I've lived there until I was 19. That's when I moved to China. And in Morocco is recognized as an Arabic speaking country. So my truly native language was Arabic. But in the school system, we also learn French and English later on. But I went to an international school since I was a kid. So I learned English and French at an even earlier age than the other children. So I kind of grew up with those two languages that also turned out to be kind of native languages since I grew up talking them in class. So it would be Arabic at home, French and English in class. And then uh, as I grew up, I made more online friends, and that's where I really developed my language skills for both. Uh, you can say foreign languages, which are French and English.
Yeah, I actually like to kind of refer to languages as global languages as opposed to foreign. I know foreign is the common term, but I always feel
Mhm.
like global is a better term because it just captures it better or more accurately just captures language that they speak that folks speak around the globe, and nothing is
Mhm.
foreign. I mean, it's all just part of the world, you know what I mean?
Yes, that's why I use the air quotes because
Yeah.
I also believe that nothing really is foreign. But since it's recognized in an Arabic country, then having a language that doesn't belong to there is technically foreign.
Yeah.
Mm.
So look, how have like in Morocco, obviously they're very strong cultures and traditions, right?
Mhm.
How have
Mm.
they influenced your like upbringing? How have they, made you into the person you are today? Those cultures and traditions of growing up in Morocco.
So, since Morocco is recognized as an Arab country, that also kind of makes it a Muslim country. So most of the of the culture and the way people behave and treat each other and all of the holidays and stuff, most of them are related to the religion that's tied to the country. So that really influences not just me but anyone who grows up in Morocco, because you grow up with these personality traits, these culture differences, you could say, to for example different cultures, just like Spain, that's almost just 13 kilometers away from Morocco, just between the Mediterranean Sea, yet the two countries are vastly different. And
Yeah,
that's mostly thanks to religion and the language, which is Arabic, because I think a language really shapes a person. When someone speaks a different language, their personality changes. You could
yeah,
notice that if we were to start speaking Arabic, we would both be slightly different people completely. So I think both the religion and the language kind of shaped me as a person, and also uh, the languages that I learned other than Arabic also influenced me the same way Arabic did.
got it. Yeah, so incredibly insightful. You're absolutely right. I mean, just imagine if like you were raised just speaking Portuguese, like not Moroccan, not Arabic, not French,
Mm.
but just like literally just you're raised speaking Spanish, and I was raised, speaking Swahili, just a whole different language. It actually shapes kind of who you are as a person. I think we take it for granted
Yeah,
because it's part of us, right? It's ingrained, it's embedded in us. But the fact is it would change who you are as a person. So the fact that you point out, just geographically how Spain and Morocco are so close to each other, but their cultures are vastly different. A lot of that probably is embedded in language. I understand the role that religion plays, but
mm.
language also plays probably just as critical of a factor in their kind of development or the development of the people, right?
Indeed, yes,
So,
yes, indeed.
so, all right, so let's talk about like China just a little bit. So we know that you have relocated from Morocco to China. Like, what are the
Mm.
biggest differences that you kind of encounter on a regular basis that you did not like deal with in Morocco? So, like, what's different in China from your home in Morocco?
So stating that China was a culture shock would be the greatest understatement ever made. Because really nothing lines up between the two countries, not the
Yeah.
people, not the religion, absolutely not the language. So it's kind of just having a completely new spawn point, you can say, where everything just, all the clocks went back to zero. Absolutely. Because it really is a vastly different culture. It's not bad in any sort of way. It's just different, very different. The way people behave, the holidays, the courtesies, the social norms, everything is very different.
It
So
is.
the
Yeah,
work ethic,
yeah. I spent time in China a number of years ago, probably 5 or 6 years ago, and
really.
we would go into these restaurants. And look, in the U.S., there's kind of a rule you can't. Number one, you can't smoke inside of restaurants. It's pretty much outlawed throughout the country. You can't
Mm,
smoke indoors unless it's your
mm,
home in the U.S. And there's a saying, no shirts, no shoes, no service. So if you don't have a shirt on and if you don't have shoes on, you can't, go into the local convenience store and buy anything. You certainly
mm.
can't, be served at a restaurant and so forth. And while I was in China, we go into a restaurant and there's a guy in there
With no shirt
with
smoking.
no shirt on, smoking cigarettes, right? In the restaurant. I was there with a group of Americans, and we're like, what? Like, there's nowhere
Yeah,
that they can do this at home. But like, it was, nobody even took a second look at the guy, right? It's just part of their culture. And I'm not
it's
saying
normal.
that
Mm.
everyone in the restaurant had no shirt on, but the fact that
No,
this
no.
guy had no shirt on and smoking cigarettes, it was kind of just a culture shock, kind of as you pointed out.
Yeah.
So what look, a big part of culture is food, right? So
Mm.
what food do you kind of miss the most or having access to in China that you had in Morocco?
Now, it would seem kind of weird, but most the food that I've missed the most would probably be bread.
Okay.
Because Morocco, there is bread in China, but it's mostly just toast bread, the same you'd
Yeah.
find in the States. But
Yes.
in
Yeah.
Morocco, we have this big round bread that we buy at the bakery, or the one that your mom bakes, because most Moroccan moms can bake the biggest, like it's almost the size of a big car wheel.
Yeah.
And because in Morocco we eat with bread, you put a
Yes.
little bit of food or sauce or whatever you're eating on bread, and you eat it with bread, not with a spoon. There are dishes
Yes.
that are eaten with spoons, but it's mostly bread. So the lack of this kind of bread focused, you can say, diet has really been the biggest change. It's
Yeah.
almost, if you take it would be the same if you take, for example, a Chinese person to a place where they don't have rice or
That's
noodles.
right. That's right. They eat rice with every meal, right? So you eat
Yes,
bread
yes.
with every meal in Morocco, huh? Every bread. It's
Now
like yeah.
I do eat like a Chinese person now. Most of my meals either have rice or noodles in them.
Okay.
So that's kind of adaptation that happened.
So do you make your own bread?
I did used to bake for a while,
Okay.
but it's very tedious and it doesn't taste like mom's bread, to be
It tastes like Reda's bread,
honest.
which is
It's only tasty when it's mom's bread. So I most of the dishes
uh,
I cook are just breadless, you can
I
say.
got you. I got you. Well, man, you have to when you go back to Morocco, you're gonna have to get the recipe. From your mother, so you can make that bread. But I also remember China not really having ovens. So in the States, we cook in ovens. China, there were not ovens all over the place. Ovens and ice. They didn't really do ice, and they didn't really do ovens, which also was
I
like a
think
cultural shock.
ice, from my experience, you could find ice in more places than not. But
Yeah.
ovens, I would agree with you because most of the Chinese diet does not include baking anything
Yes.
in really.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
mostly frying or cooking in a broth, like the noodles.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
ovens are pretty cheap in China. You could buy everything way cheaper than anywhere outside because everything comes from China.
Yeah.
So
Right. Right.
if you buy it in China, it's much easier to find and buy. But it's just a tedious process overall.
Interesting. Interesting. All right. Well,
Mm.
let's get into you as a tutor. So what inspired you to become a tutor in three languages, being English, French, and Arabic? And how do you manage like teaching all three?
So my passion for languages actually started when I was pretty young, when I was just starting to get good hold of English. I just really like the feeling of using multiple languages. And it's important to mention that the Moroccan speech pattern is very special because I think we are the most people or the people who switch languages the most. And this is really known, especially in the Arab world, because when Arab people try to communicate with Moroccans, it's Arabic and then it's French and then it's Arabic again and then it's English. And there's this continuous switch of languages. And it really takes being a Moroccan to understand because the pattern is you use, for example, if you start the sentence with Arabic, you can end it with French grammar. And that's the thing. The problem is not really the vocabulary, but the grammar you use. So you will start a sentence with Arabic grammar and finish it with French words, or use Arabic words with French grammar. And it's just this mix that I've
Yeah.
been fascinated by my entire life. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's quite it's quite special to listen to and be a part of. It's very interesting and very funny when you see the reactions of people who are listening.
So it sounds like the Arabic that's spoken in Morocco is a little different than the Arabic that spoken in the rest of the world. Am I safe to say that?
Very much, very safe. Don't worry. Yeah,
So
it's
how do you help students navigate the difference between you know the formal and the informal Arabic, especially since Morocco like has its own unique dialect? How do you manage that when you're working with students?
well, every single Arab country has its own dialect, so you could all use all of those as colloquial kind of
Yeah.
speech. But all of them agree on modern standard Arabic. That's the one I teach. I don't teach the Moroccan dialect. So
Okay.
so the modern standard Arabic is not necessarily formal, but it's kind of the thing all countries agree on. So I think that's the most useful kind of Arabic to learn. That is why I teach it myself. Because if you learn, for example, the Levantine accent, it might not be so useful when you travel to North Africa,
Yeah,
for example, in Tunisia or Algeria or Morocco. But if you learn the Moroccan dialect, it will be pretty much useless outside of Morocco and Algeria. So that's why I teach modern standard Arabic, because I believe that it's what you learn first, and then you can diverge to any dialect you would like.
got it, got it.
And
are
the way I help students,
uh-huh.
oh, sorry. I said the way I help students is the same way you would learn. I teach the other languages like French or English, because Modern Standard Arabic has its books and its courses and its materials to use just like any other language. It's the dialect that people get stuck on.
Got it. Yeah, that's
Mm,
fair. That's fair. So it sounds like
mm,
you focus on the formal Arabic, and then the dialects, if they come into play, that'll be much later. But
mm,
initially you focus on teaching the standard formal Arabic.
mm,
Yes,
mm.
I think that's a great approach. That's a great approach. So, what are some of the key differences that you notice in students who are learning English, French, or Arabic? Is one harder to teach than the other? What are some of the differences that you notice when you're working with students?
So the definition of a language being harder only depends, in my opinion, on the language you come from. If
Yeah,
you're trying to learn French as an English speaker, you already have the exact same alphabet. You have a lot of shared words. You just change the pronunciation on some words. So if you're just making that small little jump from English to French, you don't need to build as much of an understanding or a kind of fundamental ground to build the language on as you would, for example, an English speaker learning Arabic or learning Mandarin. So it really depends, and it also depends on, for example, even if two languages are very different, for example, Arabic and Russian are very different, but I, as an Arabic speaker, I have found it very easy to learn Russian
got it.
because there are a lot of shared sounds, like rolling the R, like the х sound, like there are a lot of fundamental similarities in the
Got it.
mouth part of the language,
Okay. Okay.
at least
Um.
in the mouth part of the language. So in
Okay.
the
That.
grammar and the alphabet and whatnot, there's difference, but again, at the fundamental level of can you actually make these sounds, that's when hard or easy comes from, in my
Correct.
opinion.
And that's just largely based on the sounds that you've been making vocally
Mm,
for your entire life, right? Yeah.
mm, mm,
Yeah.
mm.
That's fair. So, my last question that I'm going to ask you is, what advice would you give someone who wants to learn multiple languages simultaneously, right, at the same time, particularly English, French, and Arabic? What advice would you give such a person to increase their potential of success?
So this advice would be coming from experience, actually, because since I came to China, uh, I've learned Russian and Mandarin kind of at the same time.
Yeah.
So my the first thing to say is just go for it. That's the first thing. And the second thing is kind of, if it were to be two similar languages, that would be very easy. But if the languages are very different, then I would say to give the a language its time to build the fundamentals, and then build the fundamentals of the second language and just continue on building vocabulary, because really vocabulary is kind of the easier part of a language, understanding the structure and where words go and just the philosophy of, because languages are genuinely philosophies, like the philosophy of Mandarin. You can see it in the way people speak, Chinese people speak English. You can see that's where accents come from. And I'm genuinely fascinated by the concept of accents, because it's just a person speaking a language in another language. So
Yeah,
if you understand the first language, you can perfectly understand what the person is trying to say, even if they're saying it wrong.
yeah, yeah. True.
So that would be my advice, is just go for it first and build the fundamentals of focus on the first language heavily, focus on the second language heavily, build the fundamentals, and then you can comfortably build the vocabulary at the same time, because the vocabulary is just like the puzzle pieces you just put in to fill in the holes that are in the language. You just have to build the mole that is the fundamentals, like the grammar and the speech pattern and whatnot.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Reda, I appreciate you joining our podcast show today. You dropped so many jewels and nuggets to the audience. I just want to share, speaking to the audience, look, if you found anything of value today, please like and share our video. You may be watching this on a variety of platforms, but I think at the end of the day, everybody likes. So please, if you would just like and share the video, that would be awesome. Reda Bouzzit is is on the Syllable Space platform. Please look him up. He is ready to support you in your language journey, whether it's in English, whether it's in French, or whether it is in his mother tongue, Arabic. As you can tell, he's fully equipped to kind of be your language partner through this journey. So, Reda, thank
Thank
you
you.
so much. We appreciate having
Likewise.
you. And thank you again for all of the information you shared today. Okay.
Okay. I hope to see you soon, guys.
Thanks so much. So long.